Got it. Good morning. Happy Friday. Great energy happening this morning. I have a very special guest on the call. He is a agent, a team leader, a commercial director. Many accolades this guy has, but not just a wonderful business person, but I call a friend, a great heart. And I'm very excited to bring on the call Jason DuFault.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Straight from Waikiki.
Hey, right. This is a rental. This is a picture of a rental that we rented in Maui, on the tip of Maui somewhere.
Oh, so pretty. I know. I love your background. But Jason, that intro didn't do you justice. So tell everyone here on the call, what's your relationship with real estate? What's your story?
Well, my story is that I'm a father of 4 kids, a husband, and a real estate agent. In that order, really. I love what I do in real estate. I jumped into commercial full time a couple years back, and have loved it ever since. I mean, that's my relationship with, is that I finally do what I love doing. We talk about it a lot. I finally found a niche where I love what I do every day, and it makes a big difference.
And that's so difficult to find and be confident to be able to express that. I mean, how did you know it was for you and it was what you loved?
You know, quite honestly, as the story goes, there was a video of a residential agent, and during October, putting together little pumpkins to pass out to people. And I wanted to recruit her to work on my residential team at the time, and she went to work for someone else. And I realized that I wasn't doing myself any favors by doing this anymore. I wasn't competing. I wasn't loving it. I couldn't get into it. And I decided that because I knew commercial real estate and I needed to do something I loved, which I already owned some real estate and commercial, I just dove right in and did, started off with multifamily real, small, and then branched into other things that I knew how to do.
Yeah, so elaborate a little bit more on that for me. So, being a residential agent myself, I need clarity always. Talk to me a little bit about what you specialize in, what type of transactions you do that you see come across your desk. Where are you prospecting?
So my business is almost 90% referral. And we do a lot of business from, right now we're prospecting from, let's say, San Luis Obispo down to San Diego. But most of our transactions have happened in Southern California. We do commercial leases, we do industrial, we do multifamily. We're very lucky because I have a background in almost all commercial. And so I can do most anything if it makes sense or I feel like can be some value to a client. But most of my business comes from referral. That's where my business came from in residential. And that's where my business comes now in this. And we prospect to people that we think we can be good referral partners for. Divorce attorneys, 1031 exchange accommodators, escrow offices. This is where we go get our business. I've never liked the straight up cold call sale. So we call on investors that we know that have purchased in the last 2 years. We talk to owners of investment properties that haven't sold in the last 10 years. We talk to people that are in the business, and we start those relationships. And we know one thing, that it takes about 12 to 15 phone calls and follow-ups in order for that person just to start having a regular question and answer conversation with us about what we think in the market is and what we think even before we get into any transaction. So those are the kind of prospecting calls that we make. And we don't do as much volume as we used to. We used to do about 50 to 100 phone calls a day, and we got more strategic, calling the people that we know they're doing transactions, people that we know that are in distress, or people that we know that have a greater chance of doing business with us sooner.
Mm-hmm. So you've scaled down from the 50 to 100 calls a day, but lead generation, how important is that right now to your business? What does that look like? How do you time block that?
So most of my stuff is in the afternoon. So I handle all the crazy challenges of the day and my transactional stuff in the morning. I go to lunch, I try to work out at lunch and then come back around 2 o'clock, and then 2 to 6 is when we prospect. That's when we find that the people that we need to talk to are available. The professionals are available, the investors are available. And in commercial, it's interesting. I don't know in residential, but I know in the PEEB investors that are looking for opportunities, they expect calls. So when we call them, sometimes I don't even have to give them who I'm with. I just talk to them. Hey, this is Jason DuFault calling you about an opportunity that went across my desk. This is the asset. This is what it trades at. This is what it performs like. Are you acquiring any property? And by the way, is there anything in your portfolio that you'd like to trade? And so they expect a phone call. Hey, not today. We're scaling back. We bought 13 last year. Thanks for the phone call, but keep calling because you never know. So we're blessed that way because investors expect those calls. They want those calls. But you want to call the right people, right? People that are buying or selling. But that's kind of a positive, because when we talk to those people, I think this is really important, by the way. When we talk to those people, we ask for referrals. We do ask for the referral. We do ask for, hey, anybody in your space right now looking to do something like that? Have you talked to anybody at coffee and, you know, doing that kind of thing? Also, the other thing that happens a lot is we get calls for from appraisers, and I know residential people do too. So listen up. Talked to an appraiser yesterday. Guy calls in. I returned his call. Talked about something I sold last year, and then I asked him, "Hey, you're working. Where do you work? What kind of properties do you normally do?" And he got into it, and I said, "Do you know anybody that's looking to sell their church?" And he did. So he put me in contact with one yesterday, and we have a meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So those calls that people call in, you got to really think, anybody that calls you wants to talk to you about real estate, you got to talk to them and then ask for someone they know or a referral. It's the same in residential, I'm sure, right? I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a smart way to do it, right? Because then you're taking one phone calling and turning it into multiple opportunities. That's really where you're getting a good return on your investment, when you are focusing on these activities and making it amplify or ripple out to create more business, right? And I love how you're talking about opportunities, Jason. And I think one of your superpowers is, your price and your broker opinions of value and your opportunity to be able to see a good deal. How did you learn those skills, and how do you hone those? And what would be your advice for people who are interested in trying to identify what's a good deal?
Well, my experience came from the mortgage background. And so I learned how to do price opinions back then. I was also a direct listing agent for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac back in the crash. So we learned to do BPOs lickety split. We had 24 hours to do sometimes 30 BPOs. We had to crank them out in 48 hours. I mean, it was insane. So we learned how to do it, right? That gives me an advantage with capital markets, banks, all that kind of stuff. But to identify a deal, it's not that difficult, because when you're looking at, hey, where's a deal? Where can I find something? In commercial, you can just drive by something that hasn't been taken care of in a while, has some deferred maintenance, it's vacant, right? Like, what's going on here? There's a deal there. Somehow, somewhere, there's a deal there. Or they own other properties that look just the same. Or you, like an old apartment building, you go by, especially in today's world, you go by an apartment building, it looks like it was built in 1975 and still has arched roofs and, candy lane little, what are those little things called off the rooftops, right? Yeah, I mean, you look and go, someone's gonna want to sell that. I'm sure they are. So, I mean, you just look at things that don't look like they've been taken care of. People, that's what you see. And then if you see a lot of vacant, like for leasing, a lot of vacancies in a retail center, what's going on there? Maybe somebody wants to sell that thing because it isn't making any money. New dreams are being like cultivated right now. People are dreaming about being in their retail space. People are dreaming about the new restaurant. The entrepreneurial fever is hot right now. And people are wanting to get out and do their own thing, do their own dog grooming, do their own pizza place. because people are sick and tired of working for the man. And so what that means is that people are going to go out there and go get a SBA loan or a business loan to do something somewhere. And that includes buying real estate. And the government gives you so much money to do that, that these people will make their dreams come true in somebody else's square footage sometimes, or they'll buy their own building. So that's what's happening all around Southern California right now and outside of Southern California. You can see deals as you go by them, and especially if you see an apartment building that has a lot of for rent signs, a lot of vacancies, that shouldn't be happening. Something's wrong there, right? It's not very hard to find out. And, we always say, come by my office and let's talk about it. What did you see? Let's find out. We've got the resources to find out who owns it. We can get their phone number, contact information. We can find their mom, their dad, the son, the daughter, the dog, whoever, the aunt, the uncle, whatever, dentist. We can find them. We will find them. So, it's not that difficult. And all you have to do is walk in my office or give me a phone call, and we can figure it out, and you can make a lot of money.
I love that. You're always so generous with your open door policy when it comes to that, and especially here at Coastal. I appreciate it. So you talked a little bit about, I was going to ask you about this, your experience, obviously mortgage, and you not only lived through, but thrived and came out the other side of the 07, 08 market crash, right? Obviously, we're seeing trends and things change, particularly in our area when it comes to pricing and inventory. What's your opinion going through what you did before, knowing what you know now? Where are you seeing the market going in 6 months, a year?
So my feeling about this has to do with trending data behind us. So many brought this to my attention a couple of years ago. And it's, looking at data behind us. What are the trends we see? And where can you parallel those same trends where you've seen them before? Kind of like, aha, I've seen this before, right? So I thought that was a really keen look at it. And I never thought about it that way, specifically when I analyzed data. So I started looking. And what I see now is a trend where I'm trying to figure out what year it was, but nonetheless, as interest rates start to rise and people start making different decisions, right? There's change going on, and the change can be anything. So the change now is what it's going to be. It's going to be either more people are going to want to sell because they're panicking, or they're going to make decisions some way or another. And I think when that starts to happen and more listings start to come on, maybe just a little bit, the listings that are there, I think, are going to sit for a while. And anytime you get into an expired market, right? You get into that expired market where people start listing and they're not selling, or people are giving listing agreements for 90 days or some nutty thing like that. You have to really think about the people that didn't sell 2 years ago. The people a year and a half ago that everyone's forgotten about. The people that took it off the market because they decided they didn't have a place to go, but now they've, no one's really gone. You need to go back to those people. There may not be a lot of them right now, but the people that are expiring right now, that's just a really competitive environment. People aren't too friendly to that kind of thing. But if you go back to those people that wanted to sell a year and a half ago, they're sitting on their porch, metaphorically speaking, and saying, no one wants to talk to me anymore, right? Because I'm not the popular person in school. Well, they're the person that you want to talk to, because they're probably got some sort of plan to do something, and go back and talk to them. Sean Stanfield is a really good friend of mine, very successful realtor. And I saw him in the another office make all his first $150 million a year off expired listings. And it was 1990, I don't know what it was. Anyway, so that market is a market where you can really make some money. The change that everyone talks about, I know we talk about the shift, I know we talk about a lot of that at Keller Williams, but the part you need to embrace is that this is a time when, if you haven't sold a lot of stuff, this is your opportunity right now. You can jump in and do something that the big teams have taken from you, or the people that wouldn't have talked to you before because XYZ people are on top of their mind. This is a time where change is here. So you get to talk to people you didn't talk to before. You can offer them something that nobody else offers. And I think that's the beauty of the market as it ebb and flows, is that when those little changes come, up or down, it's opportunity for us to make money. That's how I look at it. And I think that's where it's headed. Whatever changes come, it doesn't really matter. You just have to adjust and pull off whatever business plan fits the market. That's where you have to pay attention. And the change is real, right? I mean, it's expensive to buy homes, but I'm old enough to know that my first house was almost 8% on my first mortgage. Bought that thing like I was, buying carrots. I didn't care. You're right. Boom. So I think that's important to understand for just the younger people out there that never seen anything above like a 5% interest rate. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. Prices will come down and they will adjust themselves for affordability. I guarantee you that. That's free market economics. And that's like the first class in business school.
Business school? What's that? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I didn't really go to class, but that's what I heard they were talking.
No, I love it. I mean, Jason, you hit the nail on the head when it came to perspective. There's always an upside to every market, and there are people that make a lot of money consistently throughout this industry. Even historically, when we've gone through crashes, when we've gone through interest rate spikes, when you go through and you look at the trends, I'm going to share it with everyone. I'll put it in the KW shares. When you look at the trend of home values, as interest rates rise, then we see the dip and the crash, like back in 70s and then back in the 08, 09 after. And once we got through the end of it, home values were worth more than they were before the crash. So it's just all about that perspective to say, we're going to see a dip in the market, but once we're on the upswing, this upside is going to be worth still more than what our downside is. And again, historically, learn from history. It's like, but I love that. Anyways, I won't go off on a tangent, but I will share that in the KW shares. But thanks, Jason. You are always so in tune with the market, in the trends and the economics. What's some of the resources that you listen to, consume, read that you would like to share with the call?
So there are a couple great, there's BizNow, which is .com, Globe Street's fantastic. It's got every asset class you can possibly imagine. It's a great read. I read it every morning, get the latest and greatest. And I keep it pretty simple. I use those two. I like the Wall Street Journal a lot. That gives you good insight, good writing in there. I keep it to those three. Of course, we've got our database application software, CoStar, that allows us some articles that come from other sources. As a culmination, a lot of people don't have access to those, but those three are my favorite. I did hear on the ALC call, though, yesterday, if you're not using, and I'm going to screw up the name here, Remine. Yeah, baby. That is the closest thing that mimics the application software that we use in commercial. Algorithms and trends and stuff. Learn that thing like the backside of your hand, because we use that kind of data to give us information of what we should be doing in our business, and we pay a lot of money for it. And I that's free, I think, for right MLS members or something. I don't know. I saw it one time. We were doing a trend and on a neighborhood in my neighborhood one time with an agent, and they gave out the ones that were most likely to sell the homes. Sure enough, 3 of those bad boys went on the market. And it was like 3 months later. So use that. That's a great tool that people don't take advantage of. And then I also use, interesting enough, in commercial, we use the RPR resources. That's an excellent place to get data. And we use it on the commercial side, for trending stuff. So we use that as well. And that's accessible to everyone who's a member of the board, right? So we like those. And we like to keep it really simple. We don't like to get too complicated, because complicated is not something I enjoy doing.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, thanks, Kim. Kim's dropping all the links there in the chat that you're talking about. Yeah, no, those are some wonderful resources and tools. Data is king, right? When we know more information, we can go forth with a more purposeful conversation, right? When we know who we're talking to.
Yeah, and then people ask you questions. I mean, when they ask you questions like, "Where do you think the market's going?" I can honestly tell them I have no idea. But what I can tell you is I can help you, whatever happens. Right? We don't pretend to know. There's no way to tell.
Yeah, there's one thing the pandemic taught us is that there's no amount of economists and conversations and things like that that are happening that could predict major things that can happen to our industry and to the home values. It can still change on a dime, right?
For sure.
So Jason, another question I have for you. Let's say I'm a residential agent interested in getting involved in commercial or starting to learn commercial. What are some of the best resources? How would I go about doing that?
Well, if you really want to get into commercial, so there's 3 slots for people in commercial, right? There's the referral partner, right? The referral partner identifies, sees, kind of recon, comes back, gives me an address or a contact or something, and we investigate that, and wherever it may lead relationship to that, you get paid, right? There's that. There's a team member. If you really want to practice commercial real estate, you can sit down with me and we can talk about my team and what we're doing and if that makes sense for you, right? And then there's strategic partnerships. And those strategic partnerships, again, we sit down and talk about where you want, how much of your business you want coming from commercial and where you see yourself fitting in there. And we can help design that plan for you. And if it works for you to both have residential and commercial working for you, it just depends on kind of your time schedule, your ability your time really, how much time you got. And so we're real honest about it because, commercial does take a lot of time, just like residential. So to do both 100% is probably too much to ask of one person, both at a high level. So, but there's a way to make it happen. And those 3 offer you choices in this business, and we can work that out. If you get into it big time, of course, KW commercial has training, and the training classes are awesome. I'm doing it right now. I wanted to see what they offered and see what it's like. So there is training, and the resources for KW commercial are getting better and best they've been in probably years. And the leadership has done a good job of getting us on the right path. So I'm excited about that. And that's opportunity training that I couldn't really offer you in a way consistently the way they can. And that is a discussion, if you'd like to have, you can have it with myself or Halley as well. And that's a really cool way to know that, hey, maybe I'll just do the training first and see if it's really for me, because the training is just education, right? And that, education and getting a baptismal into what is commercial, what does it mean, what does it look like, and how does Keller Williams support Jason? How does Keller Williams support all the agents in our office that practice commercial? So that would be my advice.
I love that. Perfect. And again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to Jason or I about that. So Jason, we've got a couple minutes left on the call. What else do you want to share with everyone? Anything, any words, thoughts of what you see here? We've got a wonderful myriad of producers, new agents on the call.
So this is what I think. I think this is the business we've chosen, right? We're here on this call. If you're on this call every morning, I mean, this is the one that you've chosen. So dig in and find a way to find the business that wants to find you. Really search it, because I think I preached a lot in my classes before COVID about knowing yourself. And through that process, I got to know myself better. And I found myself here doing commercial real estate, doing transactions that I never dreamed possible. And I mean I didn't think, and no, there was no way that I was going to be in that space. And it just keeps getting better because I feel comfortable in the space I'm in. I feel comfortable in the marketing that I use to facilitate my strengths, or as Halley says, my superpower, and get in there. And I think if you really search this, and this is what you want to do for a living, and you find that niche in your business of residential or commercial, it will open doors, and you know, all the fears you've ever had about being unsuccessful or being too successful will disappear, and the business will just come. And it honestly feels that way. And a shout out to our office for their support and understanding. And they do everything and anything to give us what we need. And believe me, I've been around the block. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity and a time in history that you are going to miss when you retire. So I will tell you, that's what I believe in. I think, you know, and don't complain about this job. Stop complaining. This is what you chose to do for a living. Get to it, find yourself, love what you do, and the business will come.
I love that. Good to send us off with, Jason. Thank you so much for joining me on the call. I think this was great. And your knowledge is just always so expansive. And I just appreciate your interaction here with the office, and that you're always, yeah.
I have one more thing.
I love it.
One more thing. This is a population information joke. I have to tell my joke. Which country has the biggest population?
I don't know.
Ireland, because it's always Dublin.
Oh, I think you should write the book on dad jokes. I'm ready for it. That needs to go page number 1, Jason DuFault, volume 1, dad jokes. It's super cute. But yeah, no, that's even better to send us off with. Jason, again, you guys, Jason DuFault, Kim, I don't know if you can drop in his information in the chat, or maybe Jason can type it in as I'm like talking. You guys, he is a wonderful resource to learn about commercial, to bring up commercial opportunities. And then, like I said, he's a wonderful person to just mastermind and shoot ideas off of. So I appreciate you spending your Friday with us. Hopefully you took something away from the call. I know I always do, especially learning from this guy. Catch him next, I believe, on his what's the hype that's happening in the next couple weeks, which is always a treat as well. So thank you, Jason, so much. Thanks, everyone. Have a good Friday. Okay. Have a good Friday.